60th anniversary of the Runaway series was an interesting time to be a Thomas fan, to say the least. It was right after Hit Entertainment had made their drastic, to say the least, changes to the series, and they were really trying to expand on the success of an already very successful show. And let me tell you, they wanted you to know damn well it was the 60th anniversary. Like, so much was done for this anniversary, it's actually kind of insane. The UK had a whole Thomas and Friends party on Nick Jr. There were tons of new merchandise. The original Railway series books were re-released, and the US got to receive them for the first time. And of course, we got plenty of new home media releases, including this one.
Hooray for Thomas and Other Adventures was released on VHS and DVD by Anchor Bay on January 25th, 2005. It was then re-released by Lionsgate in 2009, which would be the only time the DVD was re-released. Fun fact, as of January 25th, 2026, this DVD is actually 21 years old, which I think is pretty cool. And because it was released for the 60th anniversary, most of the episodes on this release have themes of celebrations, grand events, etc. And I think the cover for the release conveys that perfectly. The bunting on the Thomas and Friends logo, the central image of Thomas with a medal on his smoke box, and the image of Best Dressed Engine at the bottom, which is actually on this release, so it fits. It's a very nice cover, and the light blue color complements it perfectly. Fun fact, back when Netflix used to have Thomas DVDs available to stream, this cover was used for Thomas and the Jet Engine. This image pisses me off deeply. And this is actually the first of the Season 7 DVDs that is mostly normal. I'll get to why I said mostly in a little bit, but I think we've talked enough about the release's background, so let's just start talking about the release itself. This is my review of Hooray for Thomas. Before we get into the episodes though, I just want to mention something interesting on the DVD. You see, most Thomas DVDs begin with a promo advertising other releases, followed by the menu where you can choose whatever you want to do. However, this DVD cuts out both of those and goes straight to the intro. And it's not even the original intro, it's the new engine roll call intro. Slightly off-putting, but it's whatever. Let's actually just look at the episodes to see if they're any good. Hooray for Thomas is the first episode on the release, and I find it kind of funny that they decided to put the last episode of Season 7, and the classic series in general, as the first episode on a release. Strange choice, but the episode itself isn't bad. There isn't too much of a story, but seeing an episode with Thomas and Birdie racing is great, and it's cool that they decided to end the last classic season on an episode like this. Both versions of the soundtrack are pretty good, and Michael Brandon's narration isn't too bad. I'd also like to point out how Miss Jenny briefly appears in this episode, which I think is pretty cool. Honestly, I don't have too much else to say about this episode, other than it's pretty neat and it... What the hell? So, despite this DVD having the new engine roll call opening and the Robert Hartshorn versions of the episodes, it still has the classic Nameboard sequences. This is the only release that's like this, as the rest of the Season 7 releases feature these intermissions instead. I have no idea why this release has the Nameboard sequences, but it's whatever. It ultimately doesn't add or retract from my enjoyment of this release, so let's just keep talking about the episodes. Edward's Brass Band is up next, and it's actually good. It's an episode starring Edward, which in this era of the show, those episodes tended to be very hit or miss, but this episode is actually pretty enjoyable. It's the first time we see Edward get into a crash, which I didn't even know before doing research for this video. There are so many crashes in this show that so many characters get involved in, that this one being Edward's first was kind of surprising. It's also one of the last times we get to see Stepney, so that's pretty cool. It's only because of stock footage, but it's whatever. Hopefully stock footage isn't something I have to worry about too much for the remainder of this release. The soundtrack for this episode is also pretty good in my opinion, but that might just be because I really like Hartshorn's theme for Edward. But overall, as the last classic series Edward episode, it's a pretty good send-off to the character. Next up is the Refreshment Lady's Stand. This episode's story isn't necessarily the strongest, but what it lacks in story, it more than makes up for in the set design. Seriously, the backgrounds in the narrow gauge episodes have always been one of my favorite things about them. The soundtrack also isn't too bad, and the narration is actually pretty good. I really like Michael Brandon's voice for the Refreshment Lady.
Oh, it's beautiful. I told you it would be a piece of cake.
I know a lot of people really don't like Michael Brandon's narration, but honestly I think he has some pretty good character voices. And overall, I do not have anything else to say about this episode. Not bad, not great, just pretty chill. Rheneas and the roller coaster. Now, I'm gonna say something that's somewhat controversial and might get some people mad, but the US version of this episode is way better than the UK version. I'm sorry. Like I said, I know some people really don't like Michael Brandon's narration, but honestly, hearing him in this episode with his goofy-ass Rheneas voice...
How am I going to make the Children's Day really special?
...is way better than hearing Michael Angelis just sound bored out of his mind. And while I am a top-tier Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell glazer, I have to admit that their soundtrack for this episode isn't really the greatest. I mean, they use the same little 5-note sequence like every 5 seconds, and that's not even a joke. Oh well, at least it's not as bad as whatever they did with the Runaway Elephant. But dubbing aside, is this episode actually good? Yeah, for a later model series narrow gauge episode, this is actually pretty enjoyable. Once again, the set design is just great, and this episode made for a pretty cool wooden railway set. So overall, I like Rheneas and the roller coaster. Just be sure to watch the US version whenever you watch it. The grand opening is up next. Yeah, this episode is kind of just whatever. This episode is so fucking boring, and Scarloey sucks in it. He's like an impatient child, and it greatly detracts from the events of this episode. Oh wait, there are no events in this episode. Nothing happens! Seeing the red balloon in an episode is cool, and that's about it. Definitely one of my least favorite narrow gauge episodes. But hey, at least we can end things on a positive note, with the last episode being Best Dressed Engine. While later seasons of Thomas definitely did butcher a lot of characters, one character that I don't think they really ever got truly wrong was Gordon. And I think this episode is a perfect example of that, as him not wanting to be decorated like all the other engines just shows how he thinks he's above all of the rest. Something else I want to point out about this episode is stock footage. You know, up until this point, there have been instances of stock footage, but none of them have really been too noticeable to the point where I need to... What the fuck? Guys, that wasn't an edit I did. That wasn't just me placing a Season 1 clip on the timeline. This is how the actual episode goes. Like, this is something the editors actually put into the episode and thought was completely okay to just leave it in. Why in the world would you use Season 1 footage in a Season 7 episode? Are you serious? Did you really think that no one would notice? Like, did you not have anything else to use? This is just so jarring and so strange and confusing that I don't even know. But yeah, there's not too much else I have to say on this episode other than it's a pretty good end to the release. But of course, we still have to talk about the song, and the song on this release is none other than The Red Balloon. This song is undoubtedly one of my favorites in the entire series. I know I said earlier that I glazed Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell, but honestly, I think this song is just one of the reasons that it's absolutely justified. It's based off of the theme that was used in the Season 6 episode, and this song basically just takes that theme and expands upon it. And I'm so glad that they decided to make a song of The Red Balloon, because it genuinely is just one of my favorite themes from the entire series, probably. It's so beautiful and so elegant, and I think it perfectly just describes the beauty that is the red balloon just floating through the sky. And this music video is also just one of my favorites. All of the special and edited footage just makes for a music video that is just such a delight to watch. And while some of the shots like this one are a little confusing, it still looks good. It still looks really good. And the children singing in this song do a really good job, genuinely. Not every song from Season 7 is one of my favorites, but some of them, including this one, are just so good, and I love them. If you haven't listened to this song at all, or just haven't listened to it in a while, go check it out again, because it is so good. And oh yeah, remember when I said that there wasn't a menu on this release? Well, once you finish all of the episodes, you actually get to see it. And guess what you can hear in the background?
Welcome to the island of Sodor. I am Sir Topham Hatt, and today is a very important day on the Sodor Railway.
The original Thomas theme, which is really confusing because this release starts and ends with the engine roll call theme. Yeah, this DVD is really weird, but it is a pretty good example of when worlds collide. It's like the second time this has happened.
But yeah, that was Hooray for Thomas. Overall, decent enough release. It's not the strongest release, and some of the episodes aren't the greatest, but the episodes that are good are pretty good. And while it's definitely not one of my favorites, I can see why people like it. But I want to know what your thoughts are on this release. Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, I would highly recommend liking and possibly even subscribing to the channel for more stuff like this. And with that out of the way, I'll say good round. Peace.